So I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question the
ridiculous.
way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to
Reclaiming my time.
The time belongs.
I think it's very interesting.
Reclaiming my time.
I think it's very interesting.
You can
when
reclaim
he
your
talks
time,
about they
reclaiming my time,
indicted,
Mr.
the
Chairman.
president said they indicted him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please
They
stop the
sure
clock
did.
and stop the clock and restore his time.
Okay, here we go with these
Committee will be in order.
theatrics.
We begin tonight with the complete collapse of the United States Department of Justice. We are watching a live forensic autopsy of the highest law enforcement agency in the federal government. The Attorney General sat before the House Judiciary Committee. She was asked a direct question about child predators. She was asked about Jeffrey Epstein. She answered by talking about the stock market. Welcome to the breakdown of American justice. Here, play this clip.
How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over, the Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about.
Attorney General Pam Bondi sat under oath before the United States Congress. She was confronted with the record of her department. She was confronted with the documented failures to prosecute the enablers of Jeffrey Epstein. Representative Ted Lieu challenged her on the factual record. He asked her about the specific evidence regarding Donald Trump. Attorney General Pam Bondi looked at the committee and stated that there is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. She also stated that she was answering the questions from the committee honestly. She stated she was not getting in the gutter with the committee. She stated she was providing transparency. That is a lie. That is a documented, verifiable lie. The official record proves it is a lie. The transcripts from the House Judiciary Committee prove it is a lie. The actions of her own department prove it is a lie. She is not operating as the chief law enforcement officer of the United States. She is operating as a defense shield for the president. Here, play this clip.
Robert Mueller found no evidence, none, of foreign interference in 2016. Have you apologized to President Trump? Have you apologized to President Trump, all of you who participated in those impeachment hearings against Donald Trump? You all should be apologizing. You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it.
She is using the power of the federal government to obstruct congressional oversight. Let us define the lie precisely. We do not use that word lightly. We use it forensically. During the House Judiciary Committee hearing, Representative Ted Lieu of California asked Attorney General Pam Bondi a specific question. He asked if President Donald Trump had ever attended a party with Jeffrey Epstein with underage girls. Attorney General Pam Bondi is the highest-ranking law enforcement officer in the country. She commands the Federal Bureau of Investigation. She controls the federal grand juries. Her response to Representative Lieu was defensive and absolute. She called the question ridiculous. She then made her definitive claim. She said there is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Furthermore, when Representative Jerry Nadler asked her how many of Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators she had indicted, she refused to provide the number. Representative Nadler stated the number is 0. Bondi claimed she was answering the question. She stated she would answer the question the way she wanted to answer the question. She claimed she was providing transparency. She claimed the administration released over 3 million pages of documents. She claimed Donald Trump signed a law to release all of those documents. She claimed he is the most transparent president in the nation's history. These are the claims. These are the statements of the Attorney General of the United States. Here, play this clip.
You know, all they want to do, all the American people need to know this. They are talking about Epstein today. This has been around since the Obama administration. This administration released over 3 million pages of documents, over 3 million. And Donald Trump signed that law to release all of those documents. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history.
They are designed to project authority. They are designed to shut down inquiry, but they collapse upon forensic examination. We turn now to the forensic evidence. We turn to the transcripts. We turn to the official record of the House Judiciary Committee. Representative Jerry Nadler began his questioning by acknowledging the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's horrific abuse. These survivors were present in the hearing room. Representative Nadler thanked them for their bravery in speaking out. He stated that these survivors and other victims of these heinous crimes deserve better from this Department of Justice. He noted a shocking fact about the recent document releases. He noted that the Department of Justice did not redact the names of Epstein's victims. However, the Department of Justice did redact the names of their abusers. Representative Nadler questioned whether this was done out of incompetence or whether it was deliberate and malicious. Here, play this clip.
In particular, it is shocking that the department did not redact the names of Epstein's victims, but it did redact the names of their abusers. I don't know whether this was done out of incompetence or whether it was deliberate and malicious, but either way, it is completely unacceptable. Even more troubling, the DOJ has failed to bring any of these perpetrators to justice. Instead, it has engaged in a relentless pursuit of Donald Trump's perceived enemies. I want to focus on just one example. The Attorney General of my home state of New York, Tish James.
This proves that the Department of Justice actively protected the identities of perpetrators. It proves that the Department of Justice exposed the victims to further harm. It does not prove the specific names of the abusers because Pam Bondi's department hid them behind black ink. Representative Nadler then presented evidence of a relentless pursuit of Donald Trump's perceived enemies. He focused on the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James. The Department of Justice has been hell-bent on securing an indictment against Ms. James. The reason is simple. She held Donald Trump's companies accountable for years of financial fraud. The Department of Justice manufactured an investigation against her for alleged mortgage fraud. The United States attorney leading the investigation was Eric Spert. Eric Spert was a Trump appointee. Eric Spert refused to bring charges against Ms. James. He refused because there was simply no evidence. This proves that a federal prosecutor looked at the facts and found no crime. It proves that the system worked briefly at the lower levels. What happened next proves the corruption at the top. Eric Spert was forced out of his position. President Donald Trump expressed his fury in a social media post addressed directly to the Department of Justice. The post stated, quote, "I fired him, and there is a great case he wrote to you about Mr. Spert." The post continued, quote, "Then we moved down. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility." The post concluded, quote, "They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now." This proves direct presidential interference in a criminal investigation. It proves the president fired a prosecutor for refusing to indict a political rival. It does not prove that Letitia James committed a crime. It proves the exact opposite. The Department of Justice followed that order. Lindsay Halligan was installed to replace Eric Spert. Lindsay Halligan was Donald Trump's former defense lawyer. Lindsay Halligan had never prosecuted a case in her life. It was clear that part of her mandate was to go after Letitia James. Halligan immediately sought an indictment. A court dismissed this indictment. The court dismissed it because Halligan was illegally put into the role. This proves that the Department of Justice violated the law to install an unqualified political operative. It proves that the department bypassed standard legal procedures to target a specific individual. But the Department of Justice was undeterred. The department tried to indict Attorney General James not once, but twice. They tried in separate courts. Both grand juries rejected the Department of Justice. Both grand juries refused to indict her. Representative Nadler presented the statistical evidence of how rare this is. In the year 2016, a grand jury refused an indictment in just 6 cases out of over 150,000 offenses. Yet the Department of Justice had it happen twice in the same week in 2 different courts. This proves that the Department of Justice presented a case entirely devoid of facts. It proves that civilian grand juries recognized the political nature of the prosecution and stopped it. It does not prove incompetence. It proves a deliberate abuse of the grand jury system. Representative Nadler noted that reports indicate the Department of Justice is continuing to investigate her. The amount of resources that have gone into targeting Attorney General James is astounding. Months of investigations have occurred. Multiple failed indictments have occurred. The prosecutors told the department there is not enough evidence to support a conviction. It is clear the department is going after her simply because she held President Trump accountable and he wants to punish her. She is just one name on a long list of targeted political enemies. This list includes Jerome Powell and Lisa Cook at the Federal Reserve. It includes James Comey. It includes numerous Democratic members of Congress. It includes John Brennan. It includes Jack Smith. It includes Democratic officials in Minnesota. It includes Chris Krebs and Miles Taylor. This proves a systemic weaponization of the federal government. It proves the Department of Justice is operating as an arm of political retribution. Representative Nadler then contrasted these politically motivated investigations with the Jeffrey Epstein case. He noted that the Department of Justice is grasping at something they can charge their enemies with. At the same time, there is concrete evidence of disgusting criminality revealed in the Epstein files. Representative Nadler asked Attorney General Bondi a direct question. He asked, quote, "How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted?" He asked, quote, "How many perpetrators are you even investigating?" Attorney General Bondi refused to answer the question. She stated, quote, "I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question." She called Representative Nadler's questioning theatrics. She stated, quote, "I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people." A shouting match ensued over congressional time. The committee chairman had to intervene. Representative Nadler stated the answer to his question is zero. He stated that Pam Bondi has been the Attorney General for a whole year. He stated her Department of Justice fired the lead prosecutor of this case. He stated her department sat on evidence this entire time. He stated her department claimed falsely last July that there were no more leads. He stated it took an act of Congress to finally release part of the Epstein files. And when the department did release them, they included personal information about the victims while protecting the names of abusers. This proves a complete failure to enforce the law against wealthy, connected predators. It proves the Attorney General cannot point to a single indictment in the most notorious sex trafficking case in modern history. Attorney General Bondi then began a remarkable filibuster. She brought up the fact that the president was impeached twice. She noted that Representative Nadler was a lead on the impeachment. She stated that she lived that with him. She brought up Robert Mueller. She claimed Robert Mueller found no evidence of foreign interference in the 2016 election. She demanded that the committee apologize to President Trump. She stated, quote, "You all should be apologizing." She stated she was not going to put up with the attacks on the president. Then, the Attorney General of the United States pivoted away from the topic of child trafficking entirely. She brought up the stock market. She stated the Dow is over $50,000. She noted the S&P is at almost 7,000. She stated the NASDAQ is smashing records. She stated Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. She stated the Dow has shattered 50,000 for the first time. She credited President Trump for doing this in 1 year. She stated national median rents have fallen to a 4-year low thanks to Donald Trump. She stated the murder rate has plummeted to a 125-year low thanks to Donald Trump. She stated there were 0 illegal border crossings at the southern border for an unprecedented 9 straight months. She stated that is what the committee should be focused on. This forensic evidence proves that the Attorney General possesses no legal defense for her department's inaction on the Epstein case. It proves she uses economic statistics as a shield against congressional oversight regarding criminal prosecutions. It proves she views her role as a political spokesperson rather than an independent prosecutor. It does not prove that the economy excuses criminal complicity. It proves an evasion of duty. Finally, Representative Ted Lieu questioned Attorney General Bondi regarding specific evidence tying Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. He asked if President Donald Trump had ever attended a party with Epstein with underage girls. Attorney General Bondi called the question ridiculous. She stated there is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Representative Lieu then cited a specific witness statement. He cited a man who said he drove a limo for Trump. This man called the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the year 2020. The man reported that he was told by a woman that Trump and Epstein had raped her. It is unclear whether the tip was ever followed up on. Representative Lieu suggested it never had been. He demanded that the Department of Justice interview this witness immediately. This proves that specific, actionable tips regarding the president and Jeffrey Epstein exist within the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It proves that the Attorney General's absolute claim of no evidence is factually false based on the existence of this tip. It does not prove the underlying allegation of the tip. It proves the department's willful blindness to evidence that implicates the president. We must analyze the power and control dynamics at play in this hearing. The Department of Justice wields the ultimate coercive power of the state. It has the power to strip a citizen of their liberty. Attorney General Pam Bondi is exercising that power not to pursue justice, but to maintain control for the executive branch. Look at the redactions in the Epstein files. The department exposed the victims while hiding the abusers. This is an exercise of power. It sends a chilling message to any victim of sexual violence. It tells them that the state will not protect their identity. It tells them that the state will protect the wealthy and powerful men who abuse them. This is how the system controls victims and maintains the power of predators. Look at the targeting of Letitia James. The Department of Justice deployed astounding resources to investigate a state attorney general. They fired a United States attorney who refused to comply. They illegally installed a defense lawyer with zero prosecutorial experience to do the job. They ignored 2 separate grand jury rejections. This is the raw application of state power to crush a political enemy. It is designed to control the actions of local prosecutors. It sends a message that anyone who holds Donald Trump accountable will face the full wrath of the federal government. It is an abuse of power designed to instill fear. Look at the behavior of the Attorney General in the hearing room. When Representative Nadler asked a factual question about indictments, Bondi refused to answer. She told the committee, quote, "You don't tell me." She demanded apologies from the committee members. This is an assertion of executive dominance over the legislative branch. She is attempting to control the narrative by refusing to submit to oversight. By listing stock market statistics in response to questions about child trafficking, she is demonstrating contempt for the power of Congress. She is declaring that the executive branch is untouchable. The executive branch answers to no one. We must provide a legal education on the grand jury process in plain English. This is essential to understand the magnitude of the Department of Justice's failure in the Letitia James case. A grand jury is not a trial jury. A trial jury requires proof beyond a reasonable doubt to convict a defendant. A grand jury only determines if there is probable cause to bring an indictment. Probable cause is an incredibly low legal standard. Representative Nadler provided the exact statistics to prove this point. In the year 2016, there were over 150,000 offenses presented to federal grand juries. Out of those 150,000 offenses, a grand jury refused an indictment in exactly 6 cases. 6 cases out of more than 150,000. That is how rare a grand jury rejection is. Yet, the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi went to a federal grand jury to indict Letitia James. The grand jury listened to the one-sided presentation. The grand jury looked at the evidence, and the grand jury refused to indict her. The Department of Justice did not stop there. They went to a second, separate grand jury in a different court. They presented their case again. The second grand jury also refused to indict her. This happened twice in the same week in 2 different courts. For a federal prosecutor to fail to secure a grand jury indictment is a catastrophic professional humiliation. For it to happen twice in 1 week is practically unheard of in American jurisprudence. It means that the Department of Justice brought absolutely nothing into that room. It means that ordinary citizens looked at the government's case and found it completely baseless. The law requires evidence. The Department of Justice had none. They tried to use the grand jury as a political weapon, and the citizens sitting on the grand jury stopped them. We must render a professional judgment on the responsibility and fitness of Attorney General Pam Bondi. The behavior exhibited in this congressional hearing disqualifies her from holding the office of the top law enforcement officer in the nation. The Attorney General must be measured, objective, and bound by the law. Attorney General Bondi demonstrated a complete lack of emotional control and professional decorum. During the hearing, she engaged in unhinged outbursts. She hurled these outbursts at Democratic lawmakers. She lashed out at Representative Jamie Raskin. She called him a washed-up loser lawyer. When Representative Ted Lieu suggested she lied under oath, she snapped at him. She yelled, quote, "Don't you ever accuse me of a crime." When asked direct questions about criminal investigations, she deflected to reading economic statistics about the Dow Jones and the S&P. She acted with reprehensible contempt for Congress and the American people. A lawyer behaving like this in any courtroom in America would face severe consequences. As an attorney noted in the public reaction to this hearing, any lawyer behaving like this would face serious discipline. Congress should consider a bar complaint. Her behavior is shameful. It is the essence of waste, fraud, and abuse of power. She is serving as a defense attorney for the president, not as the attorney general for the American people. She is unfit to serve. We rely on the expert authority of veteran journalists who have observed the Department of Justice for decades. Paula Reed is a veteran journalist for CNN. She has covered these kinds of congressional hearings for over a decade. She possesses deep institutional knowledge of how the Department of Justice interacts with congressional oversight. Paula Reed stated clearly that she has never seen anything like that behavior. She has never seen an attorney general conduct themselves in this manner. We must also examine the documented public demand for justice as it forms part of the undeniable record of this institutional failure. The American people are watching this collapse. The reaction is documented and it is severe. Observers noted that incompetent officials ramble and get emotional to avoid painful answers. The deflection regarding the Dow Jones was recognized for exactly what it is. It was described as a mafia-style deflection. Citizens correctly pointed out that Epstein victims do not care about the Dow. Citizens noted that the stock market is not the economy, and it is entirely irrelevant to a congressional hearing on child trafficking and federal criminal prosecutions. Observers stated that the number of criminals in that room is astounding. They described the government as disgusting. They demanded that we, the people, restore real accountability and constitutional government. They expressed sheer exhaustion with hearings that lead to zero consequences. They described the proceedings as shameful and childish. We end with the procedural consequences. There is no hope to offer here. There is no positive spin. The consequences are stark and procedural. The Department of Justice will continue to operate as a weapon for the executive branch. The department is reportedly continuing to investigate Letitia James despite the grand jury rejections. The department will continue to target the long list of perceived political enemies from Jerome Powell to Jack Smith. The witness who reported the 2020 rape allegation to the FBI will likely remain uninterviewed. The co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein will remain unindicted because the Attorney General refuses to pursue them. The unhinged outbursts will continue. The deflections to the stock market will continue. The structural integrity of the Department of Justice has failed. The system has broken down. These are the facts. This is the record. This is the reality of the American justice system tonight.